Nō mai haere mai. Welcome to the digital presentation of the 2020 Storylines Tom Fitzgibbon Award for a junior novel manuscript. As we're unable to hold an in-person presentation of Storylines Awards this year, we're celebrating and profiling our shortlisted entrants and winners online. But before I introduce our winner and shortlist, a little about the Storylines Tom Fitzgibbon Award, which was established in 1995 to recognise the outstanding contribution made by the late Tom Fitzgibbon to the growth and status of children's literature in New Zealand. Tom was for many years head of the English department at North Shore Teachers College and the Auckland College of Education. He founded the Children's Literature Association of New Zealand and later became the first chair of the New Zealand Children's Book Foundation, forerunner of Storylines. The award is sponsored by Scholastic New Zealand and aims to support and encourage New Zealand writers to create a work of fiction that will resonate with New Zealand children aged 7 to 13. It carries a monetary prize and the offer of publication by Scholastic New Zealand. I'd like to thank Scholastic for their ongoing support of this award. Without this, many now successful New Zealand writers may not have achieved the success they have, not made that all-important first step onto the publishing ladder. The Storylines Tom Fitzgibbon Award has supported the creation of a number of award-winning books and, just as importantly, has provided incentive and encouragement to many new writers. We hope this year's winner will join these ranks. But before we hear from her, I'd like to congratulate our shortlisted entrants. Chrissy Walker from Christchurch for her manuscript George and Daisy, which was highly commended by our judges, and Louise Shaw from Geraldine, who was commended for her manuscript The Clash of the Cousins. The 2020 winner of the Storylines Tom Fitzgibbon Award was Belinda O'Keefe from Christchurch, who tells us she was inspired by her youngest son's slime obsession for the plot of her manuscript, Recipe for Disaster. You can see it coming. Congratulations, Belinda. We know from the feedback from the judges and the team at Scholastic that you wowed them with the humour, the characterisation, and the perfectly pitched plot and pacing, and that your manuscript stood out amid stiff competition and a high calibre of entries. I'm certainly looking forward to reading and sharing the book when it's published next year. More immediately, I'm thrilled to welcome you to tell us about this manuscript and your plans for the future.
Well, Dad loved children's literature, as is obvious, and when we moved as a family up to Auckland in the mid-60s, as head of English at the Teachers College, he became even more interested in children's literature. At that time, there was Margaret Mahy and Joy Cowley, but there was a bit of a dearth of other children's authors, and so he took it upon himself to do what was some free lectures at the college. And I remember my mother and him would walk around the streets in the local neighbourhood, handing out flyers and putting them into letterboxes, just so that people could come along to the Teachers College and learn a bit more about children's literature. And they came back from the first one extremely excited because there was so much interest, and so many mothers were very interested in reading for their children. And so that probably was about the time that he set up the Children's Literature Association. I think it was in late 60s. And then that became a lifelong interest, obviously, for him. A few years before he died in the early 1990s, he and Barbara Spears wrote a book called Beneath Southern Skies. And that book listed and reviewed New Zealand children's authors and illustrators. And I remember him talking about illustrators. He was very concerned that they were really undervalued, and he felt that they were equal to authors. And so it was very important to him that the book included illustrators in the title. And that's, of course, what happened. And my mother put a lot of effort, my mother Mary put a lot of effort into assisting with that book. It was a very good book at the time. So moving towards the Tom Fitzgibbon Award, that was something that Scholastic put in place after he died. And one of the areas that he saw a need at the time was in the age group of about 8 to 14-year-old children. And he felt that that would be a good gap for authors. Scholastic obviously listened to what he had to say, and the award is for that age group. And at the time, it was for a non-published author, a New Zealand non-published author, and that's how that award came about. And the important thing with that was the ability to have a work, a manuscript published, and that was the big thing for a New Zealand children's author at the time. And so at this point, firstly, I just want to just acknowledge my mother, Mary, for all the work she did in supporting my father in all of his career, and also my sister, who has done a lot of reading of manuscripts over the Christmas holidays, my sister Margaret. I'd like now to hand over to Belinda. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. So I was so excited when Christine called me to say I'd won the Tom Fitzgibbon Award. I was absolutely stunned, and I still can't quite believe it. It's great to be able to finally be celebrating it. So the idea for my story popped into my head during my youngest son's obsession with making slime. And when I was in despair over the state of our slime-splattered bathroom, I never dreamed that I'd be getting this award. It's quite funny how something good can come out of a sticky, gooey mess like this. Freshly made today, I might add. So there's a few people I'd like to mention. First of all, my son Dylan, for inspiring me to write this book, and for his partners in slime, Alex and Lucy. Also my husband, for his incredible support and being the best person ever to celebrate with. Also to Dylan's older brother, James, for putting up with slime stuck to his socks every time he tried to use the bathroom, and for the best reaction ever when I told him I'd won the award. I would also like to thank my mum for her excitement and enthusiasm, and for sharing her joy of books with me, and also for blowing my trumpet for me when I was a bit reluctant to do it myself. Also to my dad, who was an amazing storyteller, and he had a wild imagination, which I think has rubbed off on me. Also to my fellow writers, my sister Melanie and my cousin Chrissy, for their constant praise and encouragement. And I think writing must run in the family, because Melanie was shortlisted for the Joy Cowley Award this year, and Chrissy was shortlisted for the Tom Fitzgibbon Award. I'd also like to thank the team at Scholastics for wanting to publish this book. I can't wait to work with them all again. And also to Storylines and to the Fitzgibbon family for making this award possible. It's amazing. Looking ahead, this book ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, so I've been in the process of writing a sequel, which has been loads of fun. And I'm looking forward to getting back into school visits. And I know there's a lot of kids out there who are into slime, so I can't wait to share this book with them. And for those who haven't dabbled in the art of slime making, perhaps this book will inspire them to make a mess of their bathrooms a bit like mine.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Well, it feels very odd to be celebrating the Tom Fitzgibbon Award in this virtual fashion this year. But that's how we roll in 2020. As we didn't make an award last year, I'm delighted to announce this year's winner. Except you'll already know who it is, of course, because the results have been on the Storylines website for a little while now. Firstly, though, I'd like to acknowledge the two shortlisted manuscripts, George and Daisy by Chrissy Walker, who is a previous winner of the Tom Fitzgibbon Award. You might remember the short but brilliant career of Lucas Weed. It was Chrissy's work. And Clash of the Cousins by Louise Shaw. But now, drum roll please for the big announcement. The winner this year, for those of you who haven't been checking the website, is A Recipe for Disaster by Belinda O'Keefe, which is being retitled as Partners in Slime. We were delighted to find out after the judging that the author of this one has previously been shortlisted for the Joy Cowley Award. The story captures the reader from the first page. The voice is relevant, the characters and plot are believable, and the dialogue is engaging. I'm just going to read a brief excerpt from the book to hook you in. Would you eat a tarantula for $100? Asked Cooper as he swung around on my desk chair. Dead or alive? I replied as I threw scrunched up bits of paper at him. Alive. Then no, absolutely not. Okay, then dead. Raw or cooked? Cooked. Can I smother it in barbecue sauce? Whatever. Do I have to eat the whole thing or just the legs? The whole thing. No way, that's disgusting. It'd be all hairy and gross. Imagine biting into the body, all the insides would ooze out and go everywhere. Yuck, no amount of barbecue sauce could mask this taste. How do you know what tarantulas taste like? I shrugged my shoulders. Good question. So there you have it. The book is about two boys with a money-making scheme of selling gloop at school, but they're outwitted by an annoying little sister with whom they then have to compete. But with a little bit of skullduggery and help from a scientist uncle, they end up with a superior item which then begins to malfunction and cause trouble for the boys. And just when you think everything is back under control, the surprise ending tells you it's not over yet. Congratulations, Belinda. We look forward to hopefully launching your book at next year's Margaret Mahi Day.